Hey everybody, it's Grant, and today we have something absolutely fantastic planned for you. So we've had several emails for us to do collaborations and things like that with a bunch of other channels. And after this individual emailed me, I really liked his content. I also liked the way he carried himself. So what we ended up doing was we did a collab video. He's actually interviewing me. His name is Antoine Ahmed, and you really should follow and check out his channel. So let's get into the video and see how it turned out.
Today we have a very special guest. He's crushing it in real estate, YouTube, as well as he's just overall a really good guy. What's up, Grant? How are you doing? How is everything?
Hey Antoine, so I'm doing really good, man. Everything's getting kind of back to normal, or at least the new normal. So it's been really interesting.
So tell us about yourself, Grant. Where are you located? What do you do for a living? What kind of stuff are you up to?
So I'm actually from Lake Charles, Louisiana, and as far as what I do for a living, I am a real estate investor. I'm also a real estate developer. I've just started using that term, being that it's just starting to really take shape. And I am the director of a large automotive group.
Awesome, you're the director of an automotive company. I'm sure you've been in some cool cars before.
So as far as cool cars, it is a really cool time to be in the automotive industry. Right now we have a new Escalade coming out. We have all new models coming out. It's like the new iPhone whenever those start hitting, because who doesn't want to come out and check out the brand new Escalade? And the coolest one lately has been the new 2020 Corvette. It's absolutely phenomenal, and it's really fun to drive. So aside from a little holdup from the illness that we've all been dealing with, I would say that has been the coolest thing. Now, getting people their vehicles, that's been more important.
Just trying to get to know you better. What are some hobbies? What are some things you're into?
As far as hobbies though, I really enjoy working. I enjoy pushing myself, and I enjoy learning. And I know that sounds like a cheesy answer, but that's really true. As far as actual hobbies that would be classified under that, I have a boat. It's a 36 foot center console concept. I love the boat. It's a fishing vessel. Sadly, and my fiance Kayla reminds me of this all the time, I've only used it for 3 times in the last 2 years. So we are making that on our goal sheet. I know normal goal sheets are, you know, do this, crush this, and do that. But spending more time on the boat with the family is really crucial. She reminded me the other day, something that's kind of weird about me. I have 8 animals. We have a rescue, we have a American Bulldog, and then we have 6 English Bulldogs. And I don't know if you've ever seen one of those, but it's like potato chips. You just can't have one. And so she did remind me that the English Bulldogs have never made it to the boat. So that boat will never be the same.
Dang, man, 8 dogs. I have 2 cats with me. My other 2 are in Alabama, but I mean, I feel you, man. I'm a big pet guy too. So tell me, do you have any guilty pleasures, man? For me, I really like 7-Eleven cookie dough. They're like 300 calories for like 2 pieces, and I'll sit down, I'll eat a whole bag of them.
So as far as food, I would say my number 1 would be my my red drink right here. And finally, somebody asked me on the channel what it was. So that is Spark from Advocare. And I know it sounds like I'm a car commercial and an Advocare commercial right now, but it's not what it's about. It's just the things that I do on a daily basis. But what happens is I drink like 3 of these a day, and it's a vitamin based versus having to go with, you know, all of that NOS, Bang, and all that sugar with Red Bull. So it's a good alternative, and it tastes great. I've been drinking it since I was like 16 years old, and I very much enjoy it.
That sounds really good, man. I feel like you sold me on it. I'm going to have to try it sometime. Do you have any other guilty pleasures too?
So as far as another guilty pleasure, I think everybody, I don't know about everybody, but I know a lot of people really enjoy watches. I buy and sell watches on a regular basis, and so it does allow me to get some cool stuff and keep it, sell it. And typically when you stay in Rolex and Patek Philippe, I don't own a Patek right now, but I do own about 5 Rolexes. And so like right now I'm wearing my Daytona. I really enjoy it, and it's worth about $3 grand more than I paid, because I typically buy everything used. And it's really probably my biggest guilty pleasure.
Good watches definitely retain their value. I'm just rocking the Apple Watch for now, but I definitely can see adding a Rollie in the future. All right, cool. Now we're going to go on to the juicy stuff, man. Tell us about some deals you're currently doing.
So as far as current deals that we're doing, I will kind of list them as far as relevance. By far, maybe my biggest return ever is going to be my stock portfolio.
You know, focusing on your stock portfolio right now is crucial, man. It's a great time to invest in the market. What kind of things are you investing in right now?
So probably my biggest 2 investment returns are going to be the infamous Carnival Cruise Line. I just did a video on that, and it was really interesting, and it shows that the potential for that to turn out was like a $203,000 profit. I have right around $70,000, $68,000 invested in it. Probably going to be one of my favorite returns is going to be if Royal and Carnival and Norwegian pull through and don't go into bankruptcy, which I don't see happening, and but I'm sure that's going to raise a lot of comments right there. But what ends up happening if Royal pulls through, there's a big upside on Royal, so that's my favorite. I have 5,000 shares of Carnival, and I've only got 1,100 shares of Royal, but I stand to make about $100 return because I own Royal at $31 a share, and I own Carnival at like $13 a share, give or take. So, and then of course you had said, biggest investments. I have another stock that I bought, and it's my $150,000 bet. Yeah, the biggest, saddest part about this one is it's a short. So of course this is real gambling as far as stock market's concerned. If the market was to go down, it would be amazing for me. I'm still sitting here being sad about this actual purchase. But I have 8,000 shares of a stock called SPXU. I do not recommend anybody actually buy it. This is just because I could stand that loss. I'm 30 years old. If I lost $150,000, that would be terrible, but I would recover and I would learn from it. Here's the thing. I have that stock, and even in lieu of all that, right now it's losing like 44,000 bucks, but we're still up well over 100 grand when you include that stock loss right there, and it's a really cool time. It really is.
$150,000 loss. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that. But that's why I really enjoy your content, because social media is a highlight reel, but you're willing to show, the good and the bad. And that's something that I really value and I don't really see out there. Moving on, we want to know what's the best deal you've done thus far and why?
As far as my biggest project, I do absolutely believe that the project that we just talked about will be. There is another project that I haven't even started yet. It is just this big, beautiful plot of land that will be absolutely my biggest and best yet. But so far, let's talk in stuff that's actually done. I don't believe in counting your chickens that haven't hatched yet. I think it's a goofy saying, but at the same time, it's very relevant. Here's the thing. I have a property that I have been building since 2016, and there was some complications on this property, and it's on Enterprise Boulevard in Louisiana, and I built 5 apartments on there, and the contractor actually committed contractor fraud where he used my money to build his own property, and I couldn't prove that part, but he did admit on camera, because I actually made him have to talk to me on camera, and he did admit it. I didn't put him in jail, I didn't prosecute him, but we did offer up a fantastic discount for it. So I'll kind of go through that and just take a second. So what ended up happening is in 2016, he came to me, wanted me to build 12 units with him at $100,000 per unit or $100 a foot. Land, property, deal, everything. And so I said that would be great. However, I want something in Lake Charles. This was a property in Sulphur, and I said I need to be able to do stuff within the realm of the dealership, so that way I can still manage them myself. And so he come back to me, and we found a piece of property that he had owned for a while, and we were going to build 5 units on it. And that way it's way more affordable for me, because I don't know about you, but $1.2 million now is still too much money. But 500, 600,000, which still might be unfathomable to some, that's manageable to me because I've done it. And I'm like, okay, cool, I can handle this. So long story short, we started it at $530,000. That was the original deal. After all of the issues that lasted from 2016, he built a duplex, and then the threeplex is what sat there. It sat there and it sat there and it sat there. I actually had to spend $20,000 of my own money to get it done. And not only was it extremely infuriating, but it literally paused my real estate career for those 3 years, because you're not gonna go spend more money that you might have to put into this one because it can't get done. And so anyway, he dropped my sell price from $530,000 all the way down to $470,000. But did a few other things that I'll get into more detail on in a future video if you guys want to really hear about this. It's very, very educational, very inspirational on how it actually worked out. I don't know about inspirational, but it was great that it worked out. It could have really hurt me. And so long story short, I'm in that property for $470,000, and if you did 5,000 square feet times $135 a foot, I would say it's probably in the, what's that, $700,000?
I'm sorry to hear about that contractor, but I know you're still going to crush that deal, and at least you got like a $60,000 little discount.
Yeah, I often tell people that was my pain and suffering discount for all those years, because you got to realize I was 26 years old when I started the project, and I was 29 years old when we finally finished this project. I don't know how the bank didn't repossess it, but being that I had $50,000 down, they kept calling me and I stayed in contact. I still, and I can tell you why, not to throw shade on the bank, but the bank is supposed to go out and verify that the work has been done, and they didn't. So I had them on that. Couldn't tell you if that was a big enough deal for them not to foreclose on the property, but we eventually got it taken care of and it worked out. But wow, it could have been terrible. And then the crazy part is he was the only contract I'd ever used and ever intended on using. I make sure I get a good deal, and I promise future work in order to keep those good deals. And literally, he built my first duplex, he built my first home, and then he built my first, I think, 5 units as a complex. And now with 7, I like the word complex for it. So he built my first complex, and he'll never build for me again because of that. And so it was just a sad event.
Wow, man, that's pretty crazy that, someone so near and dear to you could do that to you, man. But with that in mind, man, do you have any tips for any future investors?
Big tip for any future investor is to start. Whether it's start saving, start planning, start making your goals, you have to start. And when I tell you make a goal, I don't mean write it down on a piece of paper, put it somewhere else. I mean, if you put it on that goal sheet, it's going to happen. It has to happen. And that's not because you're going to wish it to. It's because you're going to work towards it every single day. And another way is, you might say, I want to, build my first real estate portfolio. I want to buy my first apartment. I want to buy this. I want to build a duplex. Well, this is what you do. You figure out what you're going to do. You work it backwards. You can go and learn as much as you possibly can. So for instance, a tip that I can give you is 20% down, right? By putting 20% down, you're going to be able to, afford your property, especially during crazy times like we're currently in, or some type of recession where you don't lose that property because your note is more expensive than you're able to pay on your own in case it goes vacant or anything happens or a major repair happens. On top of that, you're going to escape things like PMI and a lot of stuff that lenders don't just openly tell you. And PMI is private mortgage insurance. It's 1% of the overall amount of that loan divided out to you annually. So it can add up to be quite a bit. And then when it all comes down to it, the reason I tell you these processes is now you realize, ooh, 20% sounds good, right? A lot of people are on YouTube saying, oh, put 5% down and go on to the next deal. Well, what happens if you get over leveraged? What happens if you can't afford it? And so I tell you, you can still do that. That's a great option. But 20% is the absolute best point. 20% or more is the absolute best point to start at. So what you do is you find out a property that you want to buy. Let's say it's a duplex. Well, you figure out what 20% of that duplex is, and then you work your goal backwards, right? You gotta re-engineer what you want. So if the duplex is X, and 20% is what you want to put, plus closing costs, it's not just 20%. You now need to figure out goals to save that amount of money, right? And that's how you put your long-term goals to save that amount of money. And then you break those into individual goals to save those smaller increments to where, you got to realize that $10,000 isn't $10,000. $10,000 is $27 a day. If you can save $27 a day by the end of 365 days, you now have an additional $10,000 in your bank account. So you got to re-engineer everything you want, and you got to go after it like there's no tomorrow.
Those are some great tips, man. You know what they say, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. And the stuff that you said about goals was spot on. I mean, what can't be measured can't be obtained. So, I mean, definitely goal setting is a big factor. So if you had to start over again from scratch at 18, would you change anything?
As far as redoing anything from 18 until now, I would say absolutely not. Now, there are going to be a few things I'll bring up, but as far as for the most part, I really enjoy my learning experiences. I do believe a mistake, if you learn from it, is not a mistake, but it is, like I said a second ago, a learning experience, and those can be invaluable for you in your future. So as far as the two things I would have tweaked a little bit to really nitpick, because I want you to have some things that you realize that I'm not just extremely happy with how everything turned out, or at least at this point in my journey. I'm only 30, but the one thing I wish I'd have started investing a little sooner. So I started investing instead of at 18 years old, still building a 401k. I didn't build it until I was 26. So I wanted to have those extra 8 years back. But the time is one thing you'll never get back. It's the most valuable commodity any of us have. And the other thing would be, instead of letting that contractor, slow me down, not letting that happen, having that learning experience to where I wouldn't have my money used for other projects. And that way my real estate portfolio would be a little farther along than it is now. But ultimately I can catch back up on that. But truth be told, I am very happy with how it worked out. But those are two big things that I wish I could have done differently.
Yeah, the compound interest over 8 years is definitely something substantial, and that's great advice to hear. So for the last and final question, what are you working towards, Grant? What is your end goal?
So as far as like an end goal, the cool thing about YouTube is it's pushed me and it's made me share more of what, and I've had to dig deep to figure out like what I want. And so as far as a 5-year goal, I'll give you a point there and then we'll talk about the end goal. But a 5-year goal, I have the land to build me up to 100 units, okay? So if I am able to do that, that's gonna be about a $24 million real estate portfolio, and I think that's awesome, I really do. So 100 units is pretty much my goal, but at the same time, I think by the time I'm 60 years old, how awesome would it be if I have a good cash generating, really awesome $100 million real estate portfolio. That would be the end goal. That would be where it's at. But I can tell you, after I hit the 100 units, once we get there at that $24 million mark, that's when I'm going to start making choices like, is enough, or do we really start pushing this and going after shopping centers and things of that nature. So hopefully we'll be doing all that on the channel for everybody to see, and I really think it'll be pretty neat.
I think you're well on your way for your 5-year plan. I know those 100 units are coming for your end goal. I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to share your wins and your losses, as well as educating us. I've definitely learned a lot from you through this interview, and I'm hoping that we can do something like this in the future.
So that's it for the video, guys. If you enjoy videos like this, please demolish that like button as well as hit the subscribe button. We also post every single Wednesday and Friday, so please hit that notification bell. It'll tell you anytime that we post. Also, comment anything that you liked out of this video or anything you'd like to see in future videos, especially if you like collabs like this. I hope you guys have a fantastic afternoon, and I will see you on the next one.